All right, yeah. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming to our new time. I'm excited to see everybody. Happy New Year. I know we're about 4 weeks in, but this is the first meeting of this group going forward. You notice I don't have name tags. It's a long story, late intense. But this is a great opportunity for us to just get to know each other. And if you want to write down names, you can to remember who each other is. Because I think one of the great things about this group is that it's an opportunity to meet people across campuses and get to know them that you don't see every day, but also with parents across campuses as well as teacher-parent mixes, and we even have a high school student in the mix. So just get to know each other. We do meet only 4 times a year, but I hope that once you get to know each other here, that when you see each other at Howdy Night, you'll walk up and say hello, and you'll keep talking and that kind of thing. So before we kind of get rolling, let's go around and tell us what your name is and kind of what your role is. So if you're a parent, tell us where your kids are, what grades, what campuses. If you're a teacher, tell us what you teach and what campus you're at. And if you're other than one of those 2 things, just tell us what you do. We'll start here.
James Miller. I am a dual credit English teacher at the high school. I also have a daughter here. She's a sophomore.
Karen Bryant. I am a new trustee as well as a parent here of 4 kids. I have a senior, a sophomore, and a 7th grader and a 4th grader.
I'm Lucia Redmond. I'm at Cambridge and I'm one of the music teachers. And I started in 1990 and then had 3 kiddos. And I remember when Paige was there, and she's a little girl. But I stopped in between having the 3.
I'm Paige Greenring. I teach 1st grade at Cambridge and I've been there for 13 years.
Hi, I'm Misty Campbell. I'm a 6th grader, so this is a big event. That's what we were just talking about, the change, right? From elementary to junior high. And so that's where I am. And that's our only.
I'm Melly. I'm from the junior school. I've been there 10 years. I'm the department chair, and this year I teach 8th grade algebra.
I'm Erin Clemenson.
Your parents.
Oh, I have 2 in the district, 1 in 6th grade at the junior school and 1 at Woodridge in 3rd grade. And then a rising pre-K kid that will be there next year.
All right.
Nice.
I'm Kristen Payne. I'm an Allen Heights graduate, and I've got a 3rd grade girl at Woodridge, a 2nd grade girl at Woodridge, and twin boys at Howard. We're here.
I'm Emily Keene. I'm also an Allen Heights graduate, and I have a 9th grader, a daughter this year, and an 8th grade daughter at the junior school, and then my 2nd grade son goes to the City Community Academy.
My name is Brooke Nevin. I'm a parent here. I have a 9th grader, Parker. I have an 8th grader, Harris, and I'm the co-chair
Of this illustrious group?
Illustrious group. So.
My name is Liz Champion. I teach pre-K bilingual at Howard.
Marco Flores. I'm one of the Spanish immersion teachers in 1st grade at Woodridge, and I've been with these for 20 years.
Good afternoon, y'all. My name is Braden Kane. I teach at the high school. I'm 10th grade World History and 11th grade U.S. History.
Good afternoon, everybody as well. My name is Leandro Manco. I'm a senior over here at high school, and I'm here 3 years ago, so unfortunately I did not study at the middle school, junior school, so I immediately became a high schooler.
I'm Tim Blasi. I'm a parent. I got 2 kiddos. One just started pre-K at Howard. The other one is in 3rd grade Spanish immersion at Cambridge.
I'm Kristen Ishitsu. I'm the director of Housing and Housing for Alamo Heights. This is my 19th year, and I have a daughter that's a 6th grader at the junior school.
I'm Brian Grenier. I'm the director of technology for the district, and I think this is my 13th year on this committee. Only been here 5.
Yeah, that's about right, I think.
Hi, I'm Yanida Palacios, not a part officially of the committee, but here today for Dr. Walker, who is not in town, and so I'll be going over her presentation today. 10th year in the district. I have 1 son at the junior school student teaching with John Shepard in 8th grade, and so I'm very excited about that, and 1 sister at Cambridge who's a librarian. So, yeah, that's my family.
She's a rock star at the library.
Yes.
Hey, welcome. We had one ethnic person join. Tell us who you are and where your kids are.
Okay, my name's Deep Patel. This is my second year. And by the way, I really appreciate the time change. My son is a senior this year, and my daughter is in the 7th grade at junior school.
Can't believe she's in 7th grade already.
Yes.
Wow. Well, welcome. I'm glad you guys all got to know each other. You got to tell everybody where you're from originally, what your original home country is.
Ukraine.
Yeah. And so those of you that arrived a little early, thank you so much for sending your pictures in and your fun fact. It had it scrolling, and Yvonne had his picture of, he sent me like 4 pictures. And so I picked a couple of them. One with your mom hugging you in your ROTC uniform, and then one of you standing in front of something with the Ukrainian flag.
Yes.
Yeah, so he's a great student ambassador for us. Goes to anything we ask him to do, he does. And so I appreciate you being here. I think I covered that. We did the welcome. I'm going to give just a brief overview of what this group is. Some of you have been around for a while, some of you are new. Even if you've been around for a while, you might still wonder, what is it we do again? I forget. So I'll do that. I do want to put out a call to anybody in this room who's interested in serving in a subcommittee to set next year's calendar. It's interesting. Easter's early, right butts up against spring break. There's going to be a lot of controversy. Memorial Day's a week later. It's really interesting. I was just looking at it today. Anyway, so what I do is I ask the PTO presidents to give me one person from each campus, each PTO exec, to come. It's really important to have that parent perspective, so I have them come on that day. By the way, I haven't told the PTO presidents yet. I'm going to email them after the meeting on Friday to give me a person. And then I make sure I have admin from junior school or from secondary and elementary. Then anybody from this group who wants to be there is you. Now that's like the rolling up the sleeves, getting the draft ready. We ultimately bring it back to this group for you guys to bless, but that's the group that's kind of like making all those, kind of like giving us a draft. So that's what that's for. I know it's super early, but we got to get the ball rolling. So think about that. I'll send out an email, and you guys can let me know. Now, I will do a presentation on something called District of Innovation, which I'll explain when I get there. That's the first agenda item. Next, we're going to hear from Brian about him and Dr. Walker's work on clarifying technology expectations for the classroom. It's very important. We've tried to get that word out, but we're going to make sure that you all are on the same page. Then, Yadira will lead the community-based accountability conversation, the one that Dr. Walker usually does. Data and some fun. So that's kind of that part. And then I will do just a brief update of some laws that passed in the last session that I think that you all might want to be aware of, like teachers, parents, students to a certain degree. There's a lot of stuff that passed, but maybe not a lot of stuff that you care about necessarily. So I'll cover that. Now, one of the reasons, the purposes of this group is that a lot of stuff we give you information to kind of help explain thinking about things that we do, and it's really important for you in whatever role you're in, whether you're a teacher or a parent, to just find ways to share that with others. And so like if you're at a volleyball game or at a band concert or at a Little League game and something comes up, find the urge to say, you know what I learned, and spread the information, because information goes a lot of different ways, but in our district, that person-to-person community information is really the best, I feel like. And so that I want to encourage everybody to keep sharing. Whatever you learn here, share it. Now, this group is called the District Education Advisory Council, and it is advisory in nature, but essentially it serves the purpose of 2 statutorily required groups. For a long time, we had 2 separate groups. The School Health Advisory Council that talked about things like fitness and PE and health and nutrition and that kind of stuff. Those of you that were on this group last year, remember we talked about snacks? That's kind of one of the things that they talk about. Snacks that are sold at elementary and middle school. That's a group that we have to have. Then there's another group called the District Site-Based Decision-Making Team. And that's a group that just talks about education things in general, professional development, technology, anything that deals with student learning and teachers teaching. And so all of the campuses, they have a campus site-based team. and they have parents on it, and teachers, and high school generally has students on that as well. What we've done with this group is you've combined the two, and so the things we talk about, or one or the other, sometimes both, if you can imagine that. So that's kind of what we do. I'll often run stuff by you before I take it to the board, and I'll say, tell me what you think, and then I'll rework it or whatever, and then I'll tell the board, and the board will often say, well, what did the EAC say? Like with calendar, they always ask about that. Did they really go for this? And so that you guys serve a valuable function in that world. Okay, so I did that already. I said that. I'll send an email out so you guys don't have to feel pressure to sign up right now. Okay, so now here's the fun. I need to present to you all some things, and so sit and listen, take notes if you have, if you feel like it. But at the end, I do need a formal vote, because this is a law. I'll explain it, but I need to be able to say that this group is recommending X, Y, or Z, because the board makes the ultimate decision, and so I take it to the board. And so listen, ask questions, but at the end, I'll be asking for you guys to tell me what you think, yay or nay. So now I want to click, or I need you to click on that. Wait, I don't click. There you go. Look at that. Seamless. I think I'll stand up for this. Now, several years ago, the legislature passed a law that allowed districts to pursue something called a designation called District of Innovation. And the purpose of the legislation at that time was in response to really districts saying, hey man, you guys keep passing laws and they're hamstringing us. We need a way to get out of some laws so we can be innovative. That's why it's called District of Innovation. And so it passed in about, I want to say maybe like the first year, or at least the second year for sure, that it was available. We jumped on because there's some various things that we thought it would be helpful. One small example is the start time of when we start in August. The law literally says you can't start until like that last Monday in August, which would push us, because if you back it all up, it goes beyond Memorial Day. And so we're like, hey, we can exempt ourselves from that law, start a little earlier and end a little earlier. This allows us to do that. So for years we've had what's called a District of Innovation plan. And that the law requires that we have a community group that helps us to develop the plan and recommends things. And it goes to the board, and the board ultimately says, yes, we want to do this. And then we have to post it on the public, on the website and that kind of thing. Tell TEA that we did it and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of districts in the state that do this now. Now, I will say that I've heard the commissioner himself kind of complain that most folks use the District of Innovation distinction simply to be exempt from various laws that they don't want to follow for good reasons, but they don't want to follow them. And it's not used very much for innovation, right? Which I'm guilty as charged. If the legislature would quit passing laws that hamstring us about things, we would quit just trying to do that. But anyway, but it's there, so we take advantage of it. Now, what I'm going to present to you all and ask for your consideration to recommend to the trustees are 3 exemptions from 3 different laws. Now, I'm going to go over them in a little bit depth one more time, but I want to kind of lay out the line. I would explain this. This is a training that actually passed in a previous legislative session. I'll explain why we're talking about it so late. That would require 600 of our employees to do an 8-hour training. And there's no funding for it. And I'm looking at the teachers and I'm like, I'm not sure they would really enjoy doing a whole nother training. But I'll explain why we think it's a good idea for us to be exempt from that. The next one is a law that just passed in the legislative session that ended in June. And that is to redo our grievance process. Now, I'm happy to say nobody in this room is familiar with the grievance process. I would know because I deal with that. It's not common that people file grievances in our district, but sometimes they do. And it is important that people have that avenue to do that, a formal avenue to complain about something so they can get formal redress, going all the way from level 1 to level 3 with the trustees. That's important. Our argument is that our process works fine for us now. we don't feel like changing it, and the changes they're suggesting we feel like are too onerous, and I'll explain that. The last exemption, there's not four, I just didn't fix that. The last exemption is, and all you high school parents, I want you to listen to this, and junior school upcoming. They passed a law saying that the commissioner needs to come up with a universal way to weight extra points for AP and IB classes. We don't offer IB, but we offer AP and dual credit classes. Now that means they would dictate to every district. It doesn't apply to charter schools, so charter schools can do whatever they want, oddly enough. But it applies to all of the public schools. And our sense is, just 2 years ago, we went through a big policy change, and we feel like we don't want to change that again. And so that's why we want to be exempt from this new thing coming down. So, let me explain it a little bit. So here's the first one. Now, this is from the 88th legislative session. A law was passed that said everybody who interacts with kids, which is basically everybody, like in our count, in the next slide it tells you we counted out how many people that would be, should go through this training. Now at the time it passed, and Kristen, who works over counselors, we read it and we're like, what specific training are they talking about? Are they talking about this one that we know about that's 8 hours? Really? Surely? Is that what they're talking about? Well, the way it works sometimes when a law is passed, it takes a year or two for administrative rules to be written so that we're crystal clear about what the laws require. So we looked and it wasn't clear to us. We're like, we're going to wait until the rules come out. Well, guess what? It wasn't until January of 2024, last fall, that the final rules were published. And we got to read them and we discovered that it really is saying everybody has to do an 8-hour training. Everybody. And so we did more research, and there's only one training that complies with that law. It's a very specialized training. I've done it. It's not a bad training. It's a little overkill, I think, but I'll tell you that in a minute. Now it's 6.5 hours of in-person training, but it's 8 hours when you count like the whole day. That's why I say it's an 8-hour training. And the company that does the training, they limit it to only 30 people at a time. So our first thought was, well, let's get all the high school teachers in one room and let's knock it out. Well, they don't let you do that, right? Believe me, we looked at every angle on this to try to figure out how we could do this before coming to you. So what this would mean, if we did this, we'd have to have 677 people trained in this 8-hour training. Because it's a limit of 30, we'd have to have 22 different trainings. Now the law does say that you don't have to do them all at one time, but they do say you have to do a quarter at a time. So even a quarter at a time would be 170 people in one given year, and that would be 6 different sessions. And depending on, to be honest, I could find it for free some places because it's grant funded some places, but other places it's not. And some places they'll give you the training for free, but you have to buy the book. And so I did a rough estimate that in general, every session would be about $3,000. So given the financial situation we're in, which I think everybody has heard about ad nauseum, we're like, I don't know if this is a good thing for us. Now, let me tell you why it's also another reason why it's not a good thing for us. Now, the first is, we've offered this to our staff before. Back in 2022, our then nurse at the junior school went and got trained to be a person who does this. She was all excited. She said, hey Frank, I want to offer these to folks. I'll do it on Saturdays. So I create this big list and I send it out to all the staff. And I said, hey, Darty at the junior school, if you're interested, come do it. And at that time, she had 53 staff members volunteer to go to a variety of Saturday sessions, which is nice, nice number. And if you were interested in that level of depth, then you could go. But it wasn't mandatory. Then, in the next school year, that was 2020. That was 5 years ago. Then in the 2022-23 school year, the service center had a grant to offer this training for free to anybody who wanted to go. So at that time, before the budget crunch and we could still afford substitutes, I sent out an email to all the staff. And I said, hey, this is... And I think I went to the first one. Like I wanted to make sure I went before I told everybody about it because I wanted to know it was good training. And so I went and I sent it out to all the staff and I said, look, this is during the school day. If you want to go, we'll get a sub for you. And we had 3 people attend. That's fine. I mean, but it was voluntary, right? Not everybody has to go. And so my point is that we've offered this and our staff they voted with their feet. This is, if they thought it was something important that they really need, they would go. And some have and some haven't. So that's the past. Now, what the training requires in the statute, right, and this is a lot of words, but I try to bold some things. In terms of the content, right, substance use's impact on mental health, strategies to prevent harm or violence to self and others, awareness of adverse childhood experiences, grief and trauma, and risk factors, right? Those are big categories, a lot of words, but those are the general content. It goes to another page. Protective factors for that kind of stuff. And then experiential activities while you're learning. That's really a pedagogical thing, it's not like a content thing. And then likewise, risk factors for early identification of students who might struggle with those challenges. So what you would imagine a mental health first aid course would have. And there's more. Ways to support students when they have those concerns, and ways to engage with parents or guardians. So interesting content. Oh, there's more. School-based resources and how to, if a family is in need, how to kind of give them the community resources they need to do that. Sounds like something that our counselors are expert in, right? And then strategies to promote general mental health. So that's a kind of, I tried to make it a little bit more manageable. So essentially it's like 10 things that this 8-hour training is requiring. Well, guess what? Here's all the things that we already do prior to this law. We do annual training, all the staff, I mean, amen, it's a lot. It's like over 8 hours of, and I know it's a pain. There's online trainings that we all have to do by September 1st, maybe? Right, I do them too, right? And I know about bloodborne pathogens. I know about suicidal stuff. I know about drug abuse. I know about bullying. They're the same courses we do all the time. And so we do a lot of stuff in those key areas already. So we feel like this other thing is kind of redundant. And I'll show you another thing in a minute about that. We've got great counseling staff at our different campuses who are expert in this field, in these areas. And our teachers work very closely with the counselors. So if they identify anything that's needed, they work with the counselors, and the counselors use their expertise to go forward. We don't necessarily need all of our teachers to have the same level of expertise that our counselors do. Seems like a little bit like overkill. We also have wellness counselors at the secondary, and not a lot of counselors have those. Campuses have those in other places. We have a district wellness coordinator funded by the foundation. We have these regular student intervention team meetings on every campus. There's a time where administrators and counselors get together, sometimes teachers come, and they talk about students who are in need, whether that's academic or social and emotional. We do that already. We have weekly sobriety groups at the secondary level for students who are struggling with substance use. We have a suicide prevention curriculum that we use with 4th graders in the spring, 5th graders in the fall, or 5th graders, something like that. 6 and up, 6 and up. Once a year, I think Kristen knows more about that than I do. In elementary, we have morning meetings every day where the teachers get together and they get a sense of building community, and they get a sense of whether students are struggling or not, right? You know how they're doing by those meetings. And at the secondary, we do weekly advisory meetings. So my point is that we feel like as a district we do a ton already to kind of be a safety net for the students who are in need. That is really the larger purpose of this required training, right? So that's kind of the argument we're making. Now, if that wasn't enough, this is a list of all the online trainings that our staff is required to do. It's a lot. If you add them all up, I forgot, it's like 8 hours, 6 hours, I forget, something like that. But look at how many of them overlap with this other required training. So our general sense is that, the argument is that it just feels redundant. Not to mention that going into last year's budget cuts, we made a big point, Dr. Bashir went around talking to all the teachers about how, like, this is gonna be hard for us, and I'm looking at the teachers, it's hard this year, you know? Like, we made cuts last year, it was hard in the abstract, but now we're here. And we have fewer teaching assistants, we have fewer interventionists, we have, well, thanks to the foundation, classes are not as big as they could be, but we're feeling it. And so our sense is that we have to kind of keep our culture intact, that another training like this adding on will not help that, would actually hurt that. So that's kind of our big point. And the other thing is we just don't have the money to support that, which you all know based on the cuts. I already made this point, is that we substantially cover all of that stuff already in our online trainings. And this is I think it's the most important point, is that we have multiple layers of supports for students with mental health needs already, that we feel like it's redundant. And the last point here is that all of our counselors, except for one new that came in, have already been through this training. So like, we have the expertise in the place where we need it, which is in the counselors. And so that's why we feel like the exemption for this particular law makes sense. Now I have 2 more laws to cover, but I'm gonna pause to see if there's any questions about this particular one.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. 2.
Okay.
The first one, so if I'm understanding it correctly from that session breakdown that you did, do we even have the capability of finding 30 substitutes or teacher aides to even cover? Because you're gonna have to find 30 individual staffs to cover.
Yeah, I wasn't even
more
thinking
than
about
6
doing
sessions,
it during
right?
the school day, but that's an added cost.
That's-
I was thinking about like the summer before school starts or something like that, or having
Yeah.
30 Saturdays. I don't know if anybody wants to do that.
So
Yeah.
because that would be
Yeah.
an additional on top
Yeah.
of the
I
3,000
wasn't even-
session
yeah.
is if
Yeah.
it's during this, okay.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah. Good question.
puts that in perspective. The
Yeah.
second one is from the teacher's perspectives. I have young kids, hopefully I don't ever have to deal with that. But I guess from a parent perspective to the teachers, y'all are, with all that stuff going on, because it's gonna start in the classroom and if it's not identified in the classroom, it's never gonna get to that second layer, which seems like is more than enough. So from that first level directly to the teacher's side of things, the training that's in, and this is pure curiosity, the training that y'all are in already helps identify what the red flags are to be able to get that child from the classroom to that second tier, is that?
Yeah, and we might actually do it in grade spans, right? So we got high school teachers nodding, and we've got elementary teachers. Can we go backwards? So elementary folks, give us a sense, give Tim a sense of like the processes you use to identify students in need and that kind of thing.
So we have an RTI response to intervention process where it's all data documented, but you track your kids on their emotional well-being, essentially. If there's ever something they're saying that seems like a red flag, you note it. That goes directly to the counselor. So all of that data is already there. There's a system already in place for that, and those summer trainings help notify us of like what you would be looking for. And really, a lot of it is just lived experience. That you have a question, you have a counselor right on campus that you can ask.
And then middle school, anything to add to that?
We do twice a month team meetings where like 6th grade teachers are together, 7th grade teachers are together, and 8th grade teachers are together. So I can come in and say, hey, I have Johnny, and these are the things that I'm seeing, and then other teachers can be like, oh yeah, or like, no, that's not in my class. That started when Dr. Guthrie came around. It's been very helpful because then those then go to the SIT, and teachers can refer students to SIT through whether it's academic or social and emotional well-being. So we just fill out a form. So I mean the trainings and stuff like that I just feel like being a teacher in the 21st century now, like mental health awareness is so big, and you've probably gone through an in-depth training at some point. But yeah, the trainings that we do there also help support that.
And then Braden, anything to add from the high school perspective?
Yeah, and James, Bill, if I'm missing, the SITs are key for us.
Yes.
That's gonna be essential, just like it is for you guys now at the junior school, where we really can get a collaboration of teachers, several eyes on those students, and that's where we really thrive. And then we're thankful for our wellness counselors. They do such great work. Stephanie Hughes and Kat Witter really help support us when our when our understanding of the situation reaches its limit, or if there's more that needs to be done, we've got highly trained individuals who have such big hearts, and that's a gift for us in high school.
Those are great questions. Any other questions about this request to be exempt from this law before I move to the next one?
I just want to say that the morning meetings for us in the elementary are also a key part.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you make that, like, it's a time for us to make connections with our kids, and a lot of questions come up, and that's when we see flags, that then we go talk to the counselor and say, hey, so-and-so is talking about this, and they feel comfortable, so it's a safe spot for them to talk to us and to the other friends. So morning meetings are a big part of that, and I think that helps.
That's an awesome.
It's huge.
Yeah. We should start doing that in the office. I feel like I could use that. Anyway, thank you, Martin, for that. Okay, let's go to the second law that I'm requesting an exemption from. I just jumped into it. So there's no introduction slide. Okay. This is about Senate Bill 12's. It's a massive law, and it's got a bunch of stuff in it. But one part of it, Part 19, I think it's called. I wrote it down here. Section 19. It's about changing your grievance processes. So I thought I might start by just telling you what are our processes now, and that stuff on the left. Now, it's not a one-to-one comparison, so just kind of help me focus on this part. Now, we have, technically there are 3 different policies, but it's the same process. There's a grievance policy for parents, and that's FNG local. There's a grievance policy for employees, that's DGB. I don't know. I don't get as many of those as the parent one, but it's D in the D series. And then there's one for just general community folks, and I think that's the other one's the D series. That's a G series. Anyway, but they're all very similar. They're just for different audiences. Now, what happens is if somebody wants to file a formal grievance, they get the forms, and we give them the whole packet. So we give them level 1, level 2, level 3. We give them a copy of the policy. Right, there you go. They got it all. And the rule says, or the way the policy writes right now is that, well, the first thing is you should file a formal grievance within 15 days of the thing happening. That's just kind of common sense, because if you file something that happened a long time ago, it's going to be impossible to investigate. It's really hard to investigate. By the way, I've been there. It's just hard the farther you go. So our general sense is like, if you have an issue, you try to work it through the administrators, you go up the ladder. Well, generally, within 2 weeks, you're done, and you're ready to say, no, I think I need to do something for it. So the 15-day thing, that's important for us. Now, for this one, I am going to go across. The new law is suggesting that you can file a grievance within 60 days of something happening. I'm not that good at math, but how many months is that? 2 months? That's a long time, right? That's a really long time. And just from the person who investigates this and deals with these, like, can you imagine the junior school asking kids, hey, something happened and I have to figure out what happened at lunch yesterday, much less 60 days. It's just, I think so. The larger theme here is that these time frames are they're not practical. That's my larger point. My point, my argument is that our time frames are much more practical. They've worked. They're not too long. They're not too short. They're not onerous on the parents if they have a complaint to do. It does take a while to think about it. I'll walk you through it. Let's say something happened and they, filed a formal complaint. They turned it in. The clock starts ticking right then. Our policy says that we have 10 days from the time that they turn it in to meet with them. It means you guys didn't say, all right, help me understand what your issue is, because the form, you can only put so much in the form. So you meet with them, you ask all kinds of questions, and so you have 10 days to do that. Essentially, like I think it's school business days, not like calendar days. Then once I meet with you, or the principal meets with you at level 1, we have the policy says 10 days to give them a decision. Can't wait 3 weeks, you can't wait 4 weeks. Now, turning it around in 5 days is kind of quick, because you think about it, sometimes you have to go investigate, you've got to talk to people. people are busy. It just takes time to do that. So you have 10 days to give them a written response. Say, this is my decision in writing. Great. So then if they get it, then they have 10 days to say, you know what, I still don't buy it. I want to appeal. So then they have 10 days to appeal to the next level. Now that makes sense too, I think you'll hope, is that if I sit on a level 1 for 30 days or 60 days, it's the same thing. It takes longer to go back and investigate something that happened even farther ago. But then the 10 days starts over again. Then there's 10 days. I'm usually level 2 in our neck of the woods. 10 days to say, okay, great, I want to meet with you to learn more about what your complaint is. And then after I meet with you, now I don't have to take 10 days. I can do it in 2 days. But then once I meet with you, I have 10 days to give you a written response. So you know in writing, this is my decision. Then, if you get that, you're like, Frank, sorry, I got to take it to the board. That's level 3. That's how we do it. So then they have 10 days by the time they get that to say, oh, I want to appeal it to the board. Now it kind of slows down a little bit because Open Meetings Act require that the boards can't just like meet whenever they want, right? So you have like regularly scheduled meetings, then you have to call a meeting in 3 days and that kind of stuff. And so what the board has to do then is, once there's an appeal, they have to take it up at their next regular board meeting. So that might take a little longer if you like, especially if you filed it right after the last board meeting, because those are generally a month apart. But at that point, then they have the right to sit in front of the whole board. And they talk about their complaint, the board listens to them, and our policy says that the level 3 decision can either be issued anytime before the next board meeting or not at all. That's kind of like a pocket veto you guys learned in right? Like a president could not sign a law, right, but just by not signing it, it dies, right, with pocket veto. So that's kind of what that means as well. But our board generally, in my experience, in the few grievances that have gone to the board, they always write a written response to the parent. We don't have many of them, but that's how. So the way we explained it, I hope it seems pretty reasonable. The timelines are not too long, but they're also not too fast. They enable people a reasonable time to investigate and take seriously the complaints. I just feel like stretching it to 60 days is unreasonable. This other thing in the law that says that you can insert another level between 1 and 2, so I have 1B, I guess, to where another person, like that would be like I did level 2, but like, no, I want Yadira to hear it now. So you go there before the board. It just kind of makes it longer. This one, it's fine if the board wants to designate 3 trustees to be a committee to hear it, but I feel like in our community, our board likes the parents to know that they're all going to listen to it, and they don't, not just some of them. This one now, I don't quite understand how the timeline works, but it says something like you have to have a hearing before the board within 60 days after which the previous decision was made in the decision. I don't quite get it, but it's just like, let's just keep it the way it is because it's clean. And then this one I think is a big deal. It is to people involved in it. That is, this says that you can keep adding claims to your complaint all the way through. Now that just doesn't make sense because the way it is now, our policy says, if I'm complaining about something that Brian did on September the 3rd, I'm working that one complaint. And I'm digging deep and I'm looking at it and I'm taking all my 10 days. If I did all that and all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, here's another thing he did. Wait a second. Why didn't you tell me that at the beginning? Now I have to go back and do that other one. Like that's just not, it's impractical. But the way this thing works is people can keep adding complaints to their thing all the way as it goes, even all the way to the end. That we just don't feel like that's practical. So I gave the hard sell. What questions do you have about this law?
Is our current policy is just an Alamo Heights thing, or did that originate somewhere else?
Our current policy mirrors what a lot of other people do as well. It's boilerplate, Texas Association of School Board. Yeah. I think there's one thing we changed in it for clarity, which was something like, it just seemed ambiguous about turning in stuff. But other than that, it's all, the timelines and stuff are the same as everybody else has been doing. Unless everybody goes with this law, then it's gonna kind of, everybody's gonna go out of whack. Other questions about this?
Is there a reason why they came up with this law? If districts already have something?
I will be very generous in answering that question. Senate Bill 12 is, has two names that the politicians are calling it. I'm gonna tell you where this comes from. They call it the Parent Bill of Rights. And so the legislators who craft this have said that parents deserve the right to do this and that schools are locking them out of the complaint process, that they're getting complaints from parents about the grievance process, that it's not working for them. That's what the legislators have said. And so they said, we're opening it up a bit because we feel like parents want it to be like, this will work better for parents. Now, I don't know who they're hearing from. Now, I will say, like, if you don't get your way, you often don't like the process. You know what I mean? But the issue is not the process. The issue is just like 7 people disagreed with you, right? And I think that's the larger thing. And that's my experience, is that sometimes you just don't win, and you feel like you blame it on the process. But yeah, that's Parent Bill of Rights. That's what it's billed as. Good question. Yeah.
So I'm just curious on the dates. If the incident or something happens with your child and they don't let the parent know for a while, or the parent's not, informed about it. So does the 15 days start when the parent is notified or when the incident actually happens?
No, it's when you know.
When you know.
Yeah, so our policy says when you know or should have known.
Okay.
Yeah. Not like when it happened.
Okay.
Good question. Any other questions about this before I go to the last law? Right, Head, this has been a fun legislative session. I deal with this stuff. This is like non-stop. Okay. Here's the last law. And this is, in our community, like GPA is something. This is what the law says. I took a snapshot of it. That the commissioner shall develop a standard method of computing GPA for additional weight for AP classes and dual credit classes. Seems simple enough, right? Everybody should be treated the same, right? All across the state of Texas, except charter schools. They don't have to, literally it's not in this law, they don't have to follow this law. Now, I think some of you were very plugged into what we did, right? We did a lot, 40, we counted them up, it was like 40 meetings, board meetings. Not just regular meetings, board meetings, special call, special call, special call. Because we worked through class rank and our decision to change the way we do GPA generally. And boy, that was a lot of work. And we feel like in a community that's as engaged about high performance as we are, to go through that gauntlet and land in a place where we felt like a lot of people we landed in a good place. Like we don't want to get rid of that. That took a lot of work, and we feel like we had a great consensus with our community. And so that's our argument. It's like, we did this already, please let us keep doing this. Any questions about that law?
How is it ranked, again, young kids, so don't get mad at me. How is it, I'm trying to remember when I went to school, because I did a bunch of dual credit. I don't remember how dual credit and AP is. It's ranked just as any other grade currently?
And they get extra points to acknowledge the extra challenge. Yeah. So like if I'm not let's say if I'm in English 3 and it's just English 3, the grade I get is the grade I get. But if I'm in AP English 3, which is language and composition, I get a little bit of a multiplier added to the top of the grade. Yeah.
So if you take a bunch of dual credit and AP courses, chances are you may be able to rise slightly higher on a GPA than somebody that was just taking normal. Okay.
What's the chance that they say, no, you have to do all of this when we appeal?
Well, the way the legislation works now with District of Innovation, there's no approving it. Yeah, our board just has to say it, and it is so.
So it doesn't go to the state for approval, it just...
No, we just it goes to the state to report, but they keep track of it. On the website it says, these are all the districts that have an innovation thing, and they've got to click, and it takes them to our plan, So it's like transparent, everybody knows who's getting exempt from which laws. But there's no mechanism for saying no. Now, I will say, just so you know, there is a list of prohibitions. And so in commissioner's rules, it says, these laws you cannot get exempt from. And so if they had passed this law, for example, and they said, you cannot use a DIY exemption from this, then we wouldn't be able to. But this law and the Senate Bill 12 did not have that. Some laws do say that. They say, or they take them away. Like, for example, in the discipline law, there's a law for a long time that said you have to designate one person on your campus to be called the campus behavior coordinator. We exempted ourselves from that law because we thought it didn't make sense, because all of our APs deal with discipline, and it's too confusing for parents to say that person's in charge of discipline, when really they're all three. So we've been exempt from that since that law first passed. Well, guess what? In House Bill 6, they said no more DOI exemptions from naming a campus behavior coordinator. So now I have to say the principal is the campus behavior coordinator. So we'll see if that confuses people or not. But they can take away prohibitions like that, or exemptions.
Is there a limit on how many exemptions you can go after?
It just depends on the laws, which laws you think make sense. Yeah, I don't go nuts. I just like, if something doesn't make sense to us and it feels like it's going to be onerous on the staff, that's where we go after it. Good. Any questions? Okay, now it comes. This is where I have to ask you what you think. So there's no more questions, no other questions? Okay, so I think oh, by the way, the timeline, this is technically an amendment, right? So a DOI plan is good for 5 years. Every 5 years you have to renew it. We renewed ours a couple of years ago. I forget where we are in the 5-year cycle. But you can amend it. And when you amend it, it's a lot easier. So we have to report to the board that we're going to amend it, and then post it for a little while, and then we're done. And then we just report it to the state that we're done. Now goes to what I have to ask you. So I need a motion, then I need a second, and then I need to see if there's any more conversation about it, and then I need to have a show me your hands thing. And so, do I have a motion to recommend that the board approves this DOI plan amendment to do those three things?
So moved.
Who said that?
Brooke.
All right, so Brooke, you're gonna mark that. Brooke moved it. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, so the high school teachers did. We'll give it to Braden. Braden seconded it. Is there any more discussion about this before we take a vote? All right. So, all in favor of recommending to the board that we pursue these three exemptions, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right. Anybody opposed? All right. So it's unanimous. Everybody who has a vote goes. Whew! So that was a long time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yay.
I feel like there was a pat. What is
Yes,
a pat? All right. Thank you all for helping keep our culture kind of a little bit maintained. What's next? So we gotta jump out of this, and I think we're gonna update you about technology, right? Yep. Okay. All right, Brian. We're good, buddy.
I don't know if I can follow that.
Wasn't that fun?
It's like stand up and warm up. So, for those of you that might not know, I also kind of sit over our district technology committee, which is really a subcommittee of this committee. And we meet about 4 or 5 times a year as well. A number of things that I'm going to show you some work we've done since our last meeting, and especially over the summer, to address some items that we've been kind of focusing on over the last year or so. I want to start off just with our statement about technology in the district. We have always, this has always kind of been our North Star of how technology is used in the district, right? We expect and really strive for active use of technology by our students. They're creating things and not just sitting there and you know mindlessly doing wrote apps or things like that, and it's community building as well. This has been around like even long before I got here. So we grounded our work in a little bit of this, a little bit of our technology beliefs, which I don't think I have a slide on our technology beliefs, but we sat down as a technology committee 2 or 3 years ago, and really worked through what we believe about technology in the district and how we think it should look. We also spent a bit of time looking at some February feedback data we got. So this is just one of the questions that was put out to parents, asking parents whether or not they felt that the use of technology in the classroom was appropriate for their child. And what we saw, there's a lot of green, there's a lot of positive there, but there's also, in our opinion, a lot of kind of, yellow and orange and red there. And we've seen that increase over the past couple of years. So we had a little discussion about why that might be. We last year then asked an additional question to our parents. What jumps out to you on this one? Because this is where really kind of where our conversation around these two things landed. Right? From the parent perspective, how much time to your child?
I don't know how it sees.
Right, so in the slide before, generally positive, but a lot of inappropriate or not so positive. Then the very next question was, I'm not really sure what's going on in the classroom. And we kind of had a hard time, balancing those two. And we realized, this is a problem for us. If we do go back to our technology beliefs, I do have a slide about that now, I think about it. And how about that? Part of our beliefs are really broken into 4 different buckets, and one of those big buckets deals with communication and believing that transparent and ongoing communication about what's going on in the class, kind of that home-school connection, that's just going to be a benefit for everyone. It's going to be a benefit for families, it's going to be a benefit for teachers, it's going to be, most importantly, a benefit for our students. And we really felt that in order to address all that purple, and hopefully the slide before that we really wanted to start, improving our communication with families, with what's going on. So we did a number of things over the course of the summer and since last school year. I'm going to start just with, we have explicitly said, what our expectations for student technology are in the district. We've always kind of talked about it. This is now written down. It's in our technology handbook. It's been, talked about with every teacher in the district at the start of the year this year. And we talk about, when it should and when it should not be used. So, we've talked about, hey, if there's indoor recess, kids are not on iPads. That's not, that's the time for them to socialize with one another and do what kids need to do. During free time, if there's, it should be like downtime in class or they finish their work, that's not a time for technology. As a reward, if you finish your work early, I want to get on my iPad and, play whatever game. We've clearly stated that that's not time for it as well. As far as when they're on devices, we expect that they're being supervised, and we have tools all across all K through 12. We have tools that we've provided to teachers to help monitor that, and then personal devices. I think some of that, personal devices. So phones. You guys all know the new personal. Cell phone policy essentially during class time. Phones, smartwatches, personal laptops, those aren't allowed during class time across any of our campuses as well. In addition to that, we wanted to talk a little bit more about what technology use looks like in the classroom. And we worked over the course of the year to develop what's called our technology integration and expectations matrix. This came out of our beliefs as well, and one of our commitments to provide teachers with a tool to reflect on their practice. And it does that, and it does so much more. So I'm not gonna get too deep into this tool, but this has been reviewed with teachers at the start of the year. I'm gonna talk more about it with teachers during, Jimmy and I do we call it our road show. We go out and meet every teacher, or every teacher group, department or grade level, sometime in early September. But this is essentially a matrix that can be used by administrators, like on their walkthrough. This white column there on the left talks about what should administrators be looking for in the classroom. Those three middle columns that are kind of colorful talk about developing technology in your classroom. Here's kind of like what a developing level looks like. Here's what a proficient level looks like. Here's what a distinguished level looks like. So we kind of give teachers some idea on what good technology use looks like. And then on the far right column there are reflection questions for teachers to use and consider, not only during the planning process, but after the lesson is over, as well as during the PLCs. So from just a simple reflection tool to something like this in a one-pager, I think, kudos to the tech committee for, helping put this together, because I think it's a valuable tool for our staff, for administrators and teachers alike. The next thing we worked on, and this touches more on the communication piece, is our high quality instructional materials matrix. So this came out of a discussion on like screen time. How much time are my children on devices in the classroom? The direction we took with that was, let's make this a communication tool and talk about not only that, but what they're doing on technology, as well as just the different resources they're using. So we have one of these for each grade level from kindergarten through 5th grade. And then as we get into the secondary level, it's more of a kind of a general statement about how technology is being used, just because there's so many different types of courses, and courses like computer science have a much different need than an Art 1 class. But for the elementary level specifically, it breaks down here on the left our major academic subjects on language arts, math, science, and then also talks about intervention, morning meetings, and research skills down here at the bottom. It also gives parents an idea of how long is a math block. If you heard, your child was on a device for 20 minutes, well, if you think the math block is only 40 minutes long, oh my gosh, they're half the time on it. So we wanted to communicate how long these are as well. This kind of middle column here are our state adopted materials. So textbooks, if there's any digital materials that are adopted as well, would be included in there. And a lot of our textbooks are digital textbooks. It's such a major cost saver. And then each grade level talked about, okay, as a grade level, what do you all do kind of, in common, right? So what does every, in this case, 3rd grade teacher use across all classes? And they told us, well, we use the Epic app, we have Raz Kids, we use vocabulary A to Z. There's some stuff down here in math, IXL, Reflex, they use Kahoot for. So they talk about the apps they use, they talk about what they do with it, and then they also give an idea of, on average, we're doing Kahoot maybe 10 minutes a week. We're doing math rotations, IXL and Reflex, maybe 40 minutes a week. So I think this is really going to help give parents an understanding of what's going on in the classroom. And then we followed up with teachers saying, okay, teachers, we really believe in autonomy. We want teachers to teach the way they feel is best for their students. recognizing that we have to keep those lines of communications open with our families. So teachers, okay, if you're going off of this, if you got a green screen project coming up, you're doing with your students in the upcoming week, share that with the families. Hey, next week, we got a green screen project. We're going to be using, this app or that app. Just make sure you're communicating that with families. We've also kind of took, what we found was we had a lot of things about technology just all in different places. This document was over here, this guidance was over here, these rules were over here. We've put together a technology handbook. It's kind of just a one-stop place for everything technology. It's got everything in there from our screen time, some of those slides I just showed you, school and personal devices, tech safety, cybersecurity is in there, parent resource, professional. We've put this all together in one place now, which is going to make it a lot easier for families to reference, teachers to reference, anybody who's interested. This is available online. It's right on the technology website. Feel free to take a look at it. And those were, I'm not going to spend too much because it's already 5:30.
Yeah, you done? You done?
I think I'm done, unless there's questions. I mean, I'm happy to.
So, yeah, any questions for Brian? Let's clap for him. So, the takeaway that I want to make sure that we all get is that as a district, we're responsive to parents saying, hey, I want to know a little bit more about what my kid's doing. To teachers to say, hey, let's be clear about what we're supposed to be doing so that way we can just have clear expectations in case anybody has any questions. And that we're trying to be transparent about what that is. So to me, that's the takeaway that you want to share at the Little League field, if anybody brings it up. Right, anything else, Brian?
I don't think so.
All right, well, I feel like if you guys are okay, we're gonna punt the data stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, you all right with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll start first with that next time so Jimmy can do her magic thing with that. Thank you so much for being here. But I want to end just kind of with giving you the legislative update. That's the last thing done. And not because I'd like to drag everybody down with stuff, but I'm gonna head.
Not because you want to get your agenda items.
I know, it's mine. I'm on a roll.
I'll let Jimmy know that you punted first.
I made a handout. I don't know why I did that.
It's helpful.
Just in case you wanted to take notes. It's if you'll go back to the slide deck and click on that one link. This is essentially a 2-page with a Google Doc that I have. The legislative session that ran from January to June 2nd. By the way, we're in like the second special session right now. Oh my God, I can't even keep up. I've been here at Heights for 25 years. I've been in the business for 30. I've never seen one legislative session so jam-packed with things, with education stuff that's just not friendly. It's just a lot. And I've talked to a lot of people, like at the Texas Association of School Boards. I'm like, is it just me or is this a lot? I go, no, it's a lot. And there's a variety of factors. One is that, if you recall, in the last legislative session, when vouchers didn't get passed and there were 4 special sessions, the governor vetoed a ton of stuff just to get even with people. And so there's probably there's a bottleneck of things that people want to talk about that just got all pushed to this one. That's one. But the second thing is just part of that whole voucher conversation. There's just a lot of public ed on the mind of some legislators. Now, so a lot of stuff passed. I sifted through as much stuff as I could, and I'm like, well, y'all probably don't need to know a ton of stuff that we need to know, or even that the board needs to know, but what might you need to know? So I compiled this. So let me just kind of go over it. The first block, I won't do the ad nauseum thing again, but it really is important for you all to know that, and I'm just going to say it, the lieutenant governor, I'm being recorded, right? The lieutenant governor has said, this is $8.5 billion has been in new money has been injected into public education. That's true. What they don't say is that those are restricted to use on teachers who have experience, more than 3 years experience and more than 5 years experience. So it's a great boon for teachers. I'm glad teachers got a raise, but it didn't inject any other money into the system like increasing the base allotment would have done. So it didn't give us money for raises for bus drivers or anybody who's not a teacher in those fields, that kind of stuff. Class size, all these cuts. So essentially, the cuts that we made last year, they put us in a position to be able to give other people raises and to just kind of keep getting through. And so we're just living on kind of all the cuts that we made last year. So I don't mean to be a downer, but they keep saying, man, there's a lot of money going into public ed, and it's true, but it's so restricted that it doesn't benefit the whole of public ed. So that's the first thing. Can you scroll up? The next thing is, I don't want to notice it's kind of small, but there is House Bill 6 was intended to help teachers in general, right? Because legislatures kept hearing that after COVID, student behavior was just different. I'll say it that way. Especially those young, I mean, you guys probably will test, okay, they're a little different when they came back to us. And so there were some laws that educators were telling them are really hamstringing teachers and administrators, especially with younger kids. And so they changed a variety of laws. I won't get into all of that, but part of the law required us to disseminate to parents a summary of what got passed. And so what TEA did is they put together a 2-pager that's a summary of those various changes. And so we're going to be sending that out sometime next week with 3 other things that we're required to send out to you guys. So you go, wow, this email is going to come. It's like, hey, this is not on us. They're telling us to send it to you. But you'll see more of that. I just want to give you guys a heads up. And teachers might want to read it too. I mean, it's just like, it kind of strengthens your ability to say, hey, this kid's not behaving, I need help. This one is interesting. I don't know if you guys have been reading the paper. Senate Bill 12 is the law that says we have to put the 10 Commandments in every classroom if somebody donates them. We don't have to buy them ourselves. Well, there was a lawsuit, and several districts around the state of Texas were sued to stop that from happening, and we were one of the lucky districts that got sued. And so in San Antonio, Alamo Heights, Northeast, Northside, and Lackland, of all places, were sued by the ACLU, and individual parents in each of those districts were sued. There are several districts in the Dallas area, some districts in the Houston area were sued to stop the law. Now, we didn't pass the law, why are you suing us, right? But the way it worked was the law requires us to do it, and so they sued us. Right? Now, but the good news, if there is good news, in the law it says that if any district is sued over these issues, that the Attorney General is responsible for the cost and for the defense. So as a district, we really didn't have to do anything. The Attorney General did it all. And so on that first level, the judge stopped it because he said it was unconstitutional. The Attorney General is appealing it to the Fifth Circuit. And so right now, those districts who were sued cannot do anything with regard to the 10 Commandments. All the other districts in the state of Texas who were not sued could proceed if they wanted to. Just a weird situation. So I want to let you guys know, in case you read about it in the paper, that is us. Next slide. I mean, sorry, scroll up. Scroll up. Okay, now this one, I'm just going to highlight a few things. This is Senate Bill 12, you recall, from my previous presentation, including the stuff about grievance. It did a whole bunch of other stuff. So remember I told you they were calling it the Parent Bill of Rights law? They were also calling it the Anti-Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion law, the Anti-DEI law. So there's a bunch of other stuff in there. Now what I think y'all need to know is that the law prohibits the district from doing anything related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. It addresses a whole bunch of things about parent notification. Now notice the second bullet, the last sentence. We will send out a required notice to all of the families next week sometime that tells them these are the counseling services that we do, and we have to get parent consent to do them. boy, was it hard to set it all up. I think we have it all set it up electronically. But to explain all the stuff, this is what we do when parents have to consent. They can say, I consent to you having counselors talk to our kids, or I don't. So make sure you fill it out. Okay, it's important that we get that. Then we also have to send, in the same email, it's going to be the same email, another notice that says, these are all the health-related services that our nurses do. We list them all out. And then you have to say at the bottom, I consent to that, or I don't consent to that. I promise you, this is required by the law. I wouldn't be doing this otherwise. It's crazy. But it's required. So that's going to be coming out as part of Senate Bill 12. Now, the next bullet is that the law prohibits any of our employees from assisting students with social transitioning. Well, now that's defined in the law as a person's transition from one biological sex at birth to a different biological sex. I've spoken to all the teachers about this, so they all know that this is a law now. The next bullet is that the law also says we are prohibited from having any student clubs that are based on sexual orientation or gender identity.
So like at the, let's just say the junior school, there's the boys service club and the girls service club, does that fall under that?
It doesn't, because it's not based on a gender identity. It's a service club that happens to be for boys.
Okay.
This is about like gender identity, that you're a boy but you want to be a girl. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I've talked to lawyers, and so it's not that.
Okay.
Yeah. But this is like, I mean, in the past, I don't know if we've had one now, but in the past you've had like a gay straight alliance or a lesbian thing, that kind of thing. That's what this is prohibited. Yeah. Then the next bullet says that any club we have, we have kids, especially at the junior school and high school, have a ton of clubs, right? Hula hoop club, film watching club. You have to, parent has to sign a permission slip for the kid to be part of the club. We've already been doing that. And so they're just going to keep on trucking with that permission slip form. All right, deep breath. This is that was hard. That's a lot. Scroll up. Okay, this one, there's a lot of other stuff going into it, but I'm just telling you what parents need to know and teachers. The board, there's some other stuff. So this Senate Bill 13 says that as a parent, you have the right to know what your kid is checking out from the library. And so we are required to set up some kind of automated thing so that whenever your child checks something out, you're going to get an email. Yes.
Honestly, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, well, yeah. So but just know, if you get mad because you get too many emails because your kid reads a lot, that's I'm not flooding your inbox. That's required. It also prohibits us from having any materials that are considered sexual or etc. I'm not going to read it because it's kind of it offends me to even read that. But we got to make sure we don't have books that have that in there. And then likewise, it requires that the board themselves now, not the librarians, but the board has to approve every purchase of our library books. So we're talking with the board next week in a committee meeting to explain kind of suggestion for how that would look. Librarians would say these are the books we need, and we'll kind of like share them with you all. We also have to post those publicly for 30 days before we buy them. So we've been working hard for that. So you guys will have a presentation next week. All right. Now the last one is the one that you guys already know a little bit about because it's the GPA one. We talked about that one earlier. So there's a bunch of different laws. If you have questions, give me a call or send me an email. But those are the ones I thought you might need to know about, or people talked about.
Well, that SB 12, the consent needed, is there like a percentage that you have to, like, is every individual parent realistically going to sign that consent?
The way the law is written for the counseling for sure is that we have to get affirmative written consent. That means it's not like you didn't tell us no, therefore we can do it. You have to tell us yes, therefore we can. And so that's what took us a while is that we've set up, we use Qualtrics for like our February feedback and stuff. So we set up a way to kind of ping you, and if you didn't finish it, we will keep bugging you about it to to reply.
So what if a parent says no?
Then we can't provide those services.
Like their individual kid?
Their individual kid.
Got, okay. So
Yeah.
it's for your, okay. So
Yeah,
it's
and
not
by the way,
collective
you also have to
care
do,
there.
yeah, you have to do one per kid. So sorry, if you have a lot of kids, you have to do a lot of, yeah.
So are these like for the classroom lessons for the counselors too? Any-
Yeah, I think it's on the list. Is that on the list? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what
Yeah, we
happens-
try to be global in saying, these are all, and by the way, it's written like, these are all the great things that counselors do. Like we do, I mean, by the way, these are also all the things that state law requires our counselors to do. That's what a job of a counselor is. So we kind of frame it like that.
So what's gonna happen when let's say in my classroom I have 22 kids, and out of the 22, I have 21 parents that said yes and one that said no, or 5 that said no and the rest of them said yes.
That's a great question. We're gonna put it on our board to think through. So we're taking a list of all these questions about what do we do, what if, what if.
I mean, what do you do with
Yeah,
5 kids?
we'll have to
for
think through
20
that, yeah.
minutes?
Yeah. So I'm keeping a list to think through all that stuff. I'm hoping that everybody's gonna say yes. I'm hoping, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, yeah, because it's
Yeah.
also space, like where are you gonna put
Yeah.
them?
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Very
Yeah,
good.
but just so you know, I don't know if this is, I mean, this is a larger scale, but we already have opt-out for certain things at the secondary level. So like in health class, when you do the sex ed stuff, parents can already say, I don't want my kid to do that, and some do. And they go to the library, for that period of time. Now, it's a bigger scale, of course. It's not just one health class. Good questions, yeah.
Okay, so with the STAR testing changes that are at first special session right now, so we as a district originally supported the changes that were proposed during regular legislative session. What's now being proposed in special session is totally different.
Correct.
Are we putting out any kind of a SOS to our community to help?
Well, the first thing is, the last I saw, is it still in committee and it might not have the juice to finish? What we did do was a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was last week, I forget. Dr. Walker went and testified.
Right.
And then she had a follow-up meeting with the chairman and a couple of other experts to kind of try to nail down some of the things that she was trying to suggest to them to consider. That's the best we can figure out. We're not, just because it's so in flux, I don't feel like, if I go out and tell the community to do something, I don't quite know what's gonna be, what's solid. Nothing's solid, right? If it was more solid, we could do that, but it's so amorphous at this point. And I'm thinking it's just gonna die, but who knows?
It's in education committee right now. So we could call Campbell.
Oh, yeah. And we have, yeah, she
Yeah,
knows.
but I mean, like,
yeah.
the community, as parents, we could say, hey, y'all call Campbell and.
Yeah, you could be like, whatever Dr. Walker suggested, that's
Do
what you
that.
should do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a completely off topic, related to what you discussed. but
Please
it does have
do
to do
change
with-
the topic.
Well, the budget cuts took away all the cafeteria monitors in the elementary school in Howard, and I know that teachers are feeling it and all that. And I have had a couple parents from Howard mention this because it's new to them, and then it kind of made me think about it too. But I think that the like parent monitors or whatever, the emails that are going out are kind of just through a sign up genius, and who knows where it's ending up, inboxes and all of that. And I don't know that, like, you can't go on a field trip with the kids without a background check, but I don't know that there's any kind of.
There is.
They're big.
So any parent who volunteers to go be a lunch monitor has had to have gone through a background check.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I know you have to go through Raptor, but I'm on Howard PTO. and
Yeah, Raptor's different than a volunteer background
Right,
check.
but nobody's checking the Howard sign up genius.
Yeah.
To my
Yeah, so if I'm understanding correctly, it's to say, hey, anybody who does the volunteer thing for lunch duty needs to be vetted by our higher
We're
volunteer.
adding that to the sign up
volunteer
genius, like,
things.
you need to have a background check done first. But
Oh, I
like,
see.
I'm pretty sure I worked at Woodridge last week and I hadn't done my background check. I mean, I'd done it in the past, but I hadn't done it this year. And I did it, so I'm just.
Do we have to
saying,
do it
I
every
think
year?
that
I
there
don't
needs
even
to
know, yeah,
be,
that's good, that's helpful.
Yeah,
that's super
especially,
helpful.
you're just kind of letting anybody in there right there.
Yeah.
And they're contained in one one room.
Yeah.
I think that should be held to even a higher standard than a field trip.
Sure,
almost,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, we'll follow up
So-
on that. Thanks, you got that.
Yeah.
Very good. That's a great one, yeah, that's this group, thank you. It's two-way, we'll go follow up on that. Anything else?
Just a thank you to them for being there because it takes a lot of work on us. I go hide in my room after that. I have lunch on my own, but we appreciate the support.
Thank you, Betty. I'll see you there. Well, thank you so much, sorry, I was saying, but yeah, definitely thank you, I know it's super hard. And so this is what I mean, like I'm serious when I say, in the abstract, budget cuts was hard enough. Everybody imagined it. But now when the teachers are living it, it's super hard. And so I appreciate the community being sensitive to that.
There's a lot of things that are going for us, you know, like the groups to come and help in the classrooms. Like we're filming it in our classroom, our normal is completely different. But we know that you guys are putting up, like sign-ups too to have coming volunteer in your classrooms. And we're ready, we're like, oh, yeah, get our Spanish speakers and the parents to come and help, so we really appreciate that.
I almost think like a consolidated place of like, you know, I don't know, Mighty Mule Pair, I don't know, you like sign up in one place to be a
Right.
volunteer, and then those are the people who get the asks to like help, I don't know.
I think the junior school kind of does that through the champions. Dr. Guthrie has a champion program, and so you apply to do that through him, but I think there's some
And then you get, that becomes like your bank of people.
Yeah, so he uses those champions to run hallways.
You kind of encourage people, join this, you know, blah, 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 and then you're in part of that, and then add that, here are service opportunities within this group, and so you can't really get the service opportunities unless you've already done a level
Hey
of
Christina,
like.
can you add to the, we have a principal meeting tomorrow. Let's just add like parent volunteer conversations and we'll share some of these ideas and get a sense of how things are going.
And having something more streamlined,
Streamlined,
we will
yeah.
ensure that we don't miss like things like the background check.
Yeah.
So that
Because
just
we have
signs
several
things.
lists going on.
And even just like, you have like some type of meeting, cause like I remember I showed up to help at lunch and somebody was like, can I go to the bathroom? And I'm like, sure, like I have to know what I'm doing.
Right. Training would be
I have
nice.
to take a cone, and I was like, okay, get a cone. Like, or like, I don't know, a little like, you know.
Very good.
I think it's also, we all are learning this, but it's a new
Yeah.
normal, but even for us teachers, we showed up the first time that, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like even for us, it's all new,
New,
so
yeah.
we're all learning, but we surely appreciate the help.
Yeah, yeah, thank you, all. Thank you all for being here. Thanks for coming, having a great evening. Go enjoy whatever you have back to school, 3rd and 5th, incubator night. School is back. We're back in session. Thank y'all.
Yeah, of course.